Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going deep, really deep, into the history of football.
Or soccer, as some of you might call it.
Exactly. We're going to be using excerpts from a Spanish text about the history of the sport, so
Ready for a unique perspective.
definitely. We'll explore how it all began, how the rules evolved,
From its, well, let's just say, less organized early days.
Aha, yeah. To the global phenomenon we know and love today.
I think what fascinates me most is how football went from this, chaotic free-for-all to
Right. I mean, can you imagine?
this incredibly structured, strategic sport.
With millions of fans around the world.
Exactly.
So our text tells us that even way back in 11th century England,
Yeah,
people were already playing their own versions of, well, something resembling football.
But picture this.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Huge crowds, barely any rules.
More like a massive medieval brawl.
Than a sport, really.
It's hard to imagine that evolving into the beautiful game we know today.
I know, right? So each village, each town had their own customs, their own versions of the rules.
Ah, so that's why it was so chaotic.
Exactly. Leading to all sorts of disagreements, let's say, during the games.
I can only imagine. So how did we go from that to the organized sport we see today?
Well, there's a pivotal moment, and it all comes down to the establishment of
What was it called?
the Football Association, or the FA, as it's known.
Okay, the FA. Got it.
This was in England back in 1863.
1863, wow.
And this was huge because it marked the first real attempt to,
Create order out of the chaos.
precisely. They set the number of players to 11 per side, finally.
Which seems so obvious now, but
Right. And they outlawed the use of hands.
except for the goalkeeper.
Of course, always the exception. And this framework, these rules, they allowed the game to,
To actually be played in a consistent way.
yeah. And that's how it started to spread more effectively.
So the FA coming in was like, I don't know, establishing law and order in the Wild West.
That's a great analogy. And it was
Right.
key for the sport to,
Become what it is today.
exactly. Level playing field, consistent rule,
And that's what allowed it to really take off.
and spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
From a local English pastime to,
A global phenomenon?
exactly. I mean, imagine trying to spread a game where the rules changed every other town.
It'd be impossible.
Right. It would be chaos.
So these standardized rules, they were like a universal language.
They made the game accessible, understandable to everyone.
But as football spread across continents, how did they make sure everyone kept playing by the same rules?
That's where FIFA comes in. FIFA was founded in 1904.
FIFA, the federation.
Federation International de Football Association.
Okay, that's a mouthful. But basically,
Basically, they became the global governing body for football.
so they're like the United Nations for football.
Exactly. They organize the international competitions and, most importantly, ensure everyone follows those standardized rules.
Wow, so without FIFA, would football have reached the same level of popularity?
It's a tough question.
I mean, the game itself is exciting, right? The simplicity, the strategy, the passion.
It was always there, but FIFA definitely nurtured that
Yeah.
and provided the platform for it to flourish globally.
And speaking of global, we can't forget the World Cup.
Ah, yes, the World Cup.
The first one was held in 1930, right?
That's right, in Uruguay.
It feels like such a turning point, like it really captured the world's imagination.
It was definitely a watershed moment, solidified football's position as a global phenomenon.
It's amazing how a single tournament can have such an impact.
Well, it brought the best national teams together on one stage, ignited passions and rivalries on a global scale.
You're right, it's hard to imagine football's global reach without it. So we've got this journey from chaos to order, the key roles of the FA and FIFA.
And the explosion of the World Cup.
What else helped make football the mega sport it is today?
Well, we have to talk about the legendary players.
Ah, yes, the icons.
Pelé, Maradona, Cruyff, Messi, Ronaldo.
Names that transcend the sport.
Their skills, their charisma, they inspired generations.
They really did. And I wonder, did these iconic players also help boost the popularity of those powerful national leagues?
Oh, absolutely. Think of leagues like the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A.
The best.
They're like entertainment hubs for football, attracting the top talent, captivating fans worldwide.
And drawing in more and more fans and players, creating a whole ecosystem.
Exactly. And it all feeds back into the global popularity of the sport.
It's a fascinating cycle. Now, you mentioned you're a baseball fan, so I'm curious.
Uh-oh, here comes the baseball comparison.
Have you ever watched a full football match? I mean, really watched it.
I have. And I'll admit, I was a bit lost with some of the rules at first.
I get it, there are a lot of nuances, but
It's more complex than it looks.
don't worry, we'll break down those key rules in a way that even a die-hard baseball fan can appreciate.
Sounds good. I'm ready to learn.
So stick with us, everyone, as we delve into the fascinating world of football rules. You might be surprised at how strategic it really is.
I'm sure I will be.
Yeah.
So you ready to dive into some of those rules?
Let's do it. I have to admit, some of them have always baffled me.
Well, which one's got you stumped?
The offside rule, for one.
Yeah, that one can be tricky.
It just seems so, I don't know, counterintuitive.
I get it. Basically, the offside rule is designed to prevent players from...
Camping out near the goal, just waiting for a pass.
Exactly. It keeps the game flowing and prevents it from becoming too static.
So how does it actually work?
Okay, so imagine a player is closer to the opponent's goal line than both the ball and the second-to-last defender.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
And at that moment, a teammate passes the ball to them.
Ah, so it's all about timing and positioning.
Precisely. If the player is in that position when the ball is passed, they're offside.
That makes sense. It adds a layer of strategy to both attacking and defending.
Right, because attackers need to time their runs perfectly.
And defenders need to stay alert and keep their line organized.
Exactly. And when it's done right, a perfectly timed run to stay onside.
It's beautiful to watch.
It really is. But, of course, those offside calls can be super controversial.
Oh, tell me about it. I've seen so many arguments erupt over those.
Remember that goal in the 1966 World Cup final?
Oh, yeah, the one that's still debated today.
Exactly. It shows how a single rule can create so much drama and discussion.
It really does. And speaking of rules, what about all those different ways to restart play?
Ah, yes, the restarts. You've got your throw-ins, goal kicks, corner kicks.
It feels like there are so many.
Well, each one has a specific purpose and depends on how the ball goes out of bounds.
Right, like when it goes over the sideline, that's a throw-in.
Yep, the team that didn't touch it last gets to throw it back in.
And what about when it crosses the goal line?
Now that's where it gets a bit trickier. If a defending player touches it last before it goes over their own goal line,
Then what?
then the attacking team gets a corner kick from, well,
From the corner of the field.
exactly. But if an attacking player touches it last,
The defending team gets a goal kick.
right, from their penalty area.
So it's like a little reward system depending on how the ball goes out.
It's all about strategy, my friend.
And speaking of strategy, we can't forget about substitutions.
Ah, substitutions. They're like chess moves in football.
More than just swapping tired players, right?
Yeah. Coaches use them to adjust their tactics, counter the opponent's strategy.
To change the momentum of the game.
Exactly. It's a fascinating aspect of football.
It adds a whole other level of depth, that's for sure. Now, we've mostly focused on traditional 11-a-side football.
The classic format.
But you mentioned earlier there are other variations like futsal and beach soccer.
Right. Those are a lot of fun.
What makes them unique?
Well, picture this. You're playing indoors on a hard court, smaller teams.
Sounds intense.
It is. Futsal is all about speed, close control, technical skills.
A bit like indoor soccer.
Kind of, but faster and with a smaller, heavier ball.
I bet that takes a lot of skill.
It does. Many pro footballers, guys like Neymar, Ronaldinho,
Wow, big names.
they credit futsal with developing their touch and their tactical awareness.
That's pretty impressive. So futsal is more about the technical side.
Yeah. Well, beach soccer, on the other hand,
No, that sounds fun.
it's all about spectacle. Think 5 players per side, soft sand, acrobatic moves.
Like those bicycle kicks you see in highlight reels.
Exactly. And way more goals.
Sounds like a different beast altogether.
It is. It's growing in popularity, especially in coastal regions.
Makes sense. Sun, sand, football. What's not to love?
Right. It's a real visual treat. And then, of course, we have women's football.
Yeah, it's finally getting the recognition it deserves.
Absolutely. It's exploded in popularity recently.
The skill level is incredible.
It really is. Those women are amazing athletes.
It's inspiring to see them breaking barriers and achieving greatness in the sport.
It is. And it's great to see more people recognizing that football is for everyone, regardless of gender.
Exactly. It's a sport for everyone.
And those recent successes, women's national teams.
They've played a huge role in changing perceptions.
For sure. They're inspiring a whole new generation of players and fans.
Speaking of inspiring, we have to talk about those major international tournaments.
The ones that capture the whole world's attention.
The World Cup, the Euros, the Copa.
America. The energy is electric. It's like the whole world comes together to celebrate the beautiful game.
You're right. The World Cup, Every 4 years, 32 national teams.
Battling it out for glory.
It's a month-long festival of football.
With upsets, amazing goals, incredible moments.
It's like the whole world holds its breath.
And then there's the UEFA Champions League, where the best club teams in Europe clash.
That's another level of intensity.
It really is. The quality of play is insane.
And let's not forget those continental championships.
Like the Copa America, the Euro Cup, the Africa Cup of Nations.
Each one showcasing those unique regional rivalries and styles.
Adding another layer of excitement and passion to the world of football.
It's incredible how these tournaments, whether global or continental,
They bring people together from all walks of life.
like everyone speaking the same language.
The language of football.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, it really is something special how it brings everyone together.
it is. I think it's amazing how you don't even need to speak the same language
You don't!
to understand the joy of a goal or,
A heartbreak of a loss.
Yeah, exactly. It goes beyond words.
And it's not just about watching, right? I mean, there are millions of people
Oh, yeah.
who actually play football too.
Millions. In parks, on beaches, in leagues.
It's a sport that's accessible to everyone.
Exactly. You don't need fancy equipment.
Just a ball and some friends.
And a little bit of space.
That's what makes it so special, I think.
It
It's a
is.
sport for everyone, truly.
It really is.
So we've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we?
We have. It's been quite a journey.
From those chaotic beginnings.
To the structured, global sport we know today.
We've explored the evolution of the rules.
And the impact of organizations like FIFA.
And, of course, those legendary players and tournaments.
It's more than just a game, isn't it?
It really is. It's a reflection of history, a symbol of passion.
A testament to the power of shared experience.
It's amazing to think that something so simple.
It can become something so profound.
You're right.
So as we wrap up, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from this?
I hope they gain a deeper appreciation for football.
Okay,
Not just for the athleticism,
right.
but for its power to unite people, you know?
Absolutely. So next time you see a group of kids kicking a ball around,
Or watch a World Cup match.
remember the history, the culture,
The human story.
woven into every aspect of the game?
It truly is the beautiful game.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring and keep diving deep.